When Harold Thompson turned 70, his children threw him a lovely birthday party. There were balloons, a chocolate cake, and a slideshow of photos from all the decades of his life. His wedding day with Linda, the births of his 2 children, road trips across the country, and backyard barbecues with friends who had long since passed. His grandson Ryan played the guitar and sang an old folk tune that made Harold tear up. But when the party ended and everyone returned to their own busy lives, Harold sat alone in his recliner, staring at the quiet room. The silence felt heavier than ever before. That evening, something shifted in Harold's heart. He didn't want to spend the rest of his life just waiting for the next doctor's appointment, the next phone call, or the next holiday visit from family. He wanted to feel light again, free, genuinely happy. And for that, he knew something had to change. He went into the kitchen, made himself a cup of peppermint tea, and sat down with a pen and an old yellow notepad. At the top of the page he wrote, "What's weighing me down?" Then underneath it, he scribbled the number 1. The first thing that came to his mind was regret. Harold had carried regrets for decades. Regrets about not taking that job offer in Denver, not calling his brother before he passed, not saying, "I love you" more often to Linda before she died. He realized that regret had become a companion, one that whispered, "What if?" every night. But what good had it done him? He couldn't go back. He could only honor the past by living better in the present. That night, Harold made a vow to let go of regret. He folded up a letter to his late wife, apologizing for the things he wished he'd done better, and then burned it gently in the fireplace, watching the ashes float like snowflakes. The next morning, Harold walked into his garage and looked at the shelves filled with old tools, broken electronics, and dusty knickknacks. His son, Jason, had told him countless times to let go of the clutter. But Harold had always resisted. Some of the junk had sentimental value. An old radio from the 60s, a lawnmower that hadn't worked since the Clinton administration. But now he saw it differently. Every item he held onto was a mental weight. It cluttered his space and cluttered his peace. He spent the next 2 days donating, recycling, and trashing things he no longer needed. When the garage was finally clear, Harold felt like he could breathe better. It wasn't just about cleaning a space, it was about cleaning his life. Feeling lighter, Harold decided to tackle something even deeper: resentment. Over the years, he'd built up grudges. He hadn't spoken to his cousin Barbara since they argued over their parents' estate. He still felt bitter about how his former co-worker, Phil, took credit for one of his ideas back in the late 80s. It seemed silly now, but those old grudges had a tight grip on his happiness. So he made a few phone calls. Some people didn't answer. Others were surprised but moved. When he called Barbara, there was silence on the other end. Then tears. They spoke for an hour, and by the end, Harold felt like a stone had rolled off his chest. One Sunday afternoon, as he sat reading in the park, Harold noticed something else that was stealing his joy: negative self-talk. Every time he forgot a name, misplaced his keys, or needed help with his phone, he'd call himself stupid, useless, or too old. But none of that was true. He was still sharp, still capable, still alive. From that day, he chose to speak to himself like he would to a dear friend, with patience, kindness, and humor. When he forgot his glasses at the grocery store, instead of muttering insults, he chuckled and said, "Well, Harold, looks like your brain went on a coffee break again." Another quiet thief of joy was the news. Every morning, he'd watch the morning headlines. Disasters, political tension, and economic fear. It left him feeling anxious, helpless, and angry. Emotions he didn't need in his golden years. He decided to go on a news diet. Instead of starting his day with a crisis, he started it with a walk or a call to his granddaughter Emily, who lived in Oregon. When he wanted to stay informed, he read a local newsletter or listened to short summaries, nothing that would weigh his heart down. His next revelation came after dinner with a few friends at the local senior center. He realized how often the conversations turned into complaints. People complained about the cost of medication, how young people were ruining everything, or how things were better back in the day. Harold had joined in sometimes, but now he noticed how it drained everyone. So the next time they met, he steered the conversation toward memories that made them laugh, books they loved, or places they still wanted to see. It wasn't about denying reality. It was about choosing what energy they shared. Harold also faced something many seniors quietly deal with: fear of aging. It wasn't just about physical decline, it was about being forgotten, becoming irrelevant, or losing control. But he reminded himself that aging was a privilege not everyone got. Every wrinkle, every gray hair was proof that he had lived. Instead of fighting time, he embraced it. He joined a local art class, something he had always wanted to try but never did. There, he met others who were rediscovering joy in learning, creativity, and community. Lastly, Harold knew he had to remove isolation. After Linda passed, he withdrew. His kids were busy, his neighbors moved away, and the days grew quiet. But loneliness was a silent killer. So he took a leap. He joined a local book club, signed up to volunteer at the animal shelter, and even started a walking group for seniors. Every Friday they met at the park and walked for an hour, sharing stories and laughter. Some days it was just 3 people, other days 10. But each one brought connection. As the weeks passed, Harold felt a profound change. He wasn't chasing happiness anymore. He was making space for it. By removing the emotional and mental weight he'd carried for so long, he opened up room for joy, peace, and meaningful connection. His daughter Megan visited one Saturday morning and found her father playing the ukulele on the porch, a dog at his feet from the shelter, and a stack of library books beside him. "Dad," she said, half laughing, "you look younger than you did 5 years ago." Harold smiled. "That's because I've been spring cleaning. On the inside." She didn't understand fully, but she saw the sparkle in his eyes. That night she called her husband and said, "Dad's changed. He's happy, genuinely happy. I don't know what's gotten into him, but I hope I'm like that when I'm his age." The truth was, happiness had always been within Harold's reach. It just took 70 years and a little bit of courage to realize it wasn't about adding more to his life, but removing what no longer served it. He kept that old yellow notepad by his bed, and on the last page he wrote, "Happiness isn't about chasing, it's about clearing. After 70, let go of what weighs you down, and you'll finally feel light enough to soar."